I'm speaking to you amid a crowd of several thousand jubilant people outside the headquarters of the regional government here in Catalonia. The regional president, Carles Puigdemont, is inside and presumably wondering when or whether he's going to be arrested, because the Spanish Prime Minister, Mariano Rajoy, has confirmed that direct rule will be imposed after the Spanish Senate voted for it. In fact, the order to impose direct rule appeared in the official Gazette this evening. Mr. Rajoy has called for calm. Things will be fine, he says. Things will be measured. But as I speak to you, a crowd of several hundred pro-Spain supporters are gathering in the north of the city. And we just don't know how long this calm is going to last. Here's my report on the day's events. This morning, a crowd of several thousand gathered outside the Catalonian Parliament, pressurising MPs inside to vote for the independence they've been dreaming of and following their every move. Adding to that pressure, dozens of rebel mayors from across the region, bringing their staffs of office, but all too aware they could lose that authority when direct rule is imposed.
If we have to disobey, we will do it.
You could be arrested, couldn't you?
Yes,
sent to jail.
Everybody can be arrested. They can't arrest our hearts.
Are you ready to go to jail if you have to,
Yes.
on a point of principle?
Yes, we are.
At noon, the Catalonian president arrived for this momentous vote. He too faces the prospect of jail for sedition, but neither that nor the possibility of civil unrest have stopped him so far. As the world's press waited, we heard that the Spanish Prime Minister had repeated his demand for direct rule. With no negotiation to speak of, a collision course with Catalonia had begun to seem inevitable. So Carles Puigdemont is making the short walk into the Parliament chamber here in Catalonia for a session which has been delayed as the Spanish Senate is in Madrid meeting to discuss whether to impose direct rule in what is a very high-stakes game of political chess. In the chamber, opposition MPs tried to keep talking, but it didn't work. Three parties walked out, shouting "Long live Catalonia" and "Long live Spain."
Sí. No.
The vote was 70 in favour of independence and just 10 against, with 2 abstentions. Mr. Puigdemont, the hero of the hour here, even as the Spanish stock market plunged. Even as millions didn't vote for independence in a referendum the Spanish courts said was illegal anyway. Amid all the backslapping here in the Catalonian Parliament, the applause, the sense of history in the making, what these MPs have effectively done is take this region over a political precipice into the unknown. But look at these Catalonian mayors waving their ceremonial staffs with delight and shouting for a freedom which Spain's leaders and Spain's constitution had refused to bestow. They could have Spanish police on the streets in the morning, direct rule from Madrid.
It's possible. Evidently, our proposal is resist and maintains our Catalan Republic.
It sounds like a recipe for civil war.
No.
As the news broke outside, a crowd of many thousands joined in the celebrations. If there still is a majority in favour of Spanish rule, it had stayed away. And it didn't take long for the Senate in Madrid to vote for direct rule and for the Spanish Prime Minister to move towards imposing it.
The aim is to insist on taking back legality, and therefore I want to tell Spaniards and all Catalans to be calm, that things will be fine and will be measured as they have been up until now. Spain is a serious country. It is a great nation, and we will not tolerate a few people trying to destroy our constitution, our standards of living, and rules that have served us for 40 years.
And these scenes of jubilation may not last for long. Several European governments have refused to recognise the independence voted for today, while the regional government here could be sacked. The talk is of peaceful resistance to Madrid, but nobody knows how long that peace will last. Well, I'm joined now by Alfred Bosch. We can barely hear ourselves speak here. Alfred is a member of the Barcelona City Council and a supporter of independence. It's a wonderful party here tonight, Alfred. Are you worried it's going to be short-lived because direct rule is going to be imposed now by Madrid?
Well, a new country has been born, and the first thing we want to do is tell the world that we are happy. We are happy to be free in a free country in the Catalan Republic. That's what we proclaim today. Now, of course, the Spanish government is against it, and we are bound to see some police disruption like we saw in the referendum October the 1st. But the people will be firm, I'm sure. Peaceful but firm.
So what are you expecting? Are you expecting the government here to be sacked and for the local police to come under the direct control of Madrid?
Well, that's what the Spanish government has said, and they have already approved laws in that sense. But obviously here, the people, as you can see, will resist peacefully and in a civic and democratic manner.
You say
like they've been
peacefully,
doing.
and everybody's saying they want it to be peaceful.
It's
and
being
I
peaceful.
believe them, but with the best will in the world, is it going to stay peaceful? Because civil disobedience could end up with violence. And of course, you have a lot of people who didn't vote for independence.
Well, any campaign of civil rights in history has seen violence, but the violence has always come from the repressors and from police action. It's the same case here. The only violence we have seen has come from police action and police attacks on elderly people, whole families, when they tried to vote. And what kind of a crime?
You're not worried about a backlash from millions of people in Catalonia who didn't vote in the referendum and who probably want to stay part of Spain?
They were all invited to vote.
Well, they said it was illegal, and the court said it was illegal.
Yes, but let's please remind people that they could vote yes and they could vote no. And hundreds of thousands voted no. But the yes vote won. So now we have to deliver and we have to fulfill our promise. That's why we declared independence.
You're celebrating tonight, but you must be a bit nervous about what happens next. I mean, barely any government has recognised what you have done here. The European Union has said it won't recognise it. You're on your own.
These things take time. Diplomacy tends to be quite slow. We have seen Donald Tusk, President of the European Council, warning Rajoy that he shouldn't use violence. Now, that's our main concern now. We're very, very much happy about our people. We think there'll be no violence on the part of the people. We're a bit concerned about the Spanish government and the Spanish police.
How did the crisis reach this point, where Catalan leaders declared they had no other option but to push ahead with independence? Catalonia is one of the richest regions in Spain and already has plenty of autonomy. So why the decision to go it alone? Ed Hauke reports.
Defiant, elated, crowds gather to celebrate Catalonian independence, a region angry about austerity and demanding a new politics. The ideas that fueled today's scenes were familiar, though, in the region 100 years ago. The idea of a modern Catalonia, independent from Spain, gained ground in the first decades of the 20th century. By 1933, Barcelona, radical, forward-looking and rich, declared the region a republic and then negotiated a new autonomous settlement from the Kingdom of Spain. But autonomy was short-lived.
Barcelona, capital of Catalonia, suffers its last bombardment before capture by Franco's army, and the climax of the war is reached.
Civil war devastated Spain, and Barcelona fell to fascists in 1939.
The day before, Franco had
The pageantry of General Franco's victory masking the brutal murder of Catalan nationalists. Franco would reshape a modern Spain, centred in Madrid, and when he died in 1975 and a new constitution restored the monarchy, it maintained the indivisible unity of the Spanish nation. A regional government offered limited autonomy, but Catalonian independence seemed dead. A poll from that time finding just 5% of the region were in favour of a break with Spain. The old idea has found a new audience in the era of austerity, however. The financial crisis led tens of thousands of businesses to fold across the region. In 2011, when protests gripped Barcelona, youth unemployment ran at 40%, and it rose higher for 2 more years across Spain. Catalonia's leaders blamed Madrid and made a case that they could rule more effectively.
You have to take into account that the laws at the Spanish level are not the only laws. There can be also laws at the Catalan level or at the international level.
In 2014, the government took a step closer when a so-called participatory process showed 80% support for independence. And this year, demands for freedom from Spain have overwhelmed even that.
Well, joining me now is the academic and author Frank Furedi, and fresh from celebrating outside the Catalonian government office here in London is Catalan journalist Marina Petrus-Coll and fellow activist Julia Strubell. Can I come to you two first? I mean, what does this mean to you, first of all, today?
I think we're in this happiness feeling right now, but we are in this uncertainty scenario, and this is really... This keeps us between this happiness feeling and scary.
I mean, there must be huge uncertainty because, in a way, what does this independence mean? Madrid have already said they're going to move to impose direct rule. So does this independence even mean anything?
Well, I think it's clear that today is a historical day that will be remembered by most of us. It's a very happy day, I think, for a lot of us. But yes, there's uncertainty, and well, there's certainty that the Spanish Spanish president is going to do anything in his hands to prevent it. So, yeah, we know we're in a difficult situation.
I mean, Professor Frank Furedi, we've heard it many times here. There's been a referendum, the people have spoken. Why shouldn't this stand?
Well, I think we need to take a step back and realize that Spain is a very divided nation. Catalonia itself also has profound divisions, and it's far from clear whether this government has got a mandate for independence. I think the problem that we're confronted with is that it's not clear how this whole thing will be managed. And what I'm worried about is that a few missteps along the way, and you can have potential for a tremendous amount of violence breaking out in the most unexpected of fashions. So we do need to kind of, in a sense, take a step back and take a reality check before we just kind of pile in there and ignore all the potential problems that exist.
Do you agree? I mean, you've talked about uncertainty. Frank Furedi's talking about potential violence. That is a possibility.
I want to point out something that the pro-independence movement has been demonstrating with over 1 million people on the streets for 6 years, and there has never been any problem with any violence at all. So if we saw like really hard scenes on October 1st, the day of the referendum, that was not because of pro-independence protesters. We're a peaceful people. I think everyone has seen the images. So if there's violence here, there's nobody to blame. But
do you recognise what the professor says about not just a divided Spain, but a divided Catalonia? Only 43% of potential voters actually voted in the referendum.
I think making in regards to this step back that we are supposed to do, I think we've run out of time. It's late for us, for Catalan people, to step back and wait for what else? Like we have been waiting for 100 years. It's having a long fight. Our grandfathers and grandmothers they have been jailed, they have been murdered, just speaking Catalan in the bus. You know, that's the reality. And we are already in this mistreatment to the Catalan culture, the Catalan language. Catalonia is divided. Yeah, it is, like everything in this world. But the way we have been behaving so far, I think this is how we are. So, of course, it's divided, but we are leading this movement right now.
Yeah, the trouble is that if Catalonia is divided, as is Spain, what's going to happen to the section of society whose voices are very silent at the moment, who often feel that Catalonian nationalist movement do not represent their aspiration, who to some extent feel marginalized? Because what I'm really worried about is if you unravel the borders, if you create a fait accompli, which is what's really happening, you do end up with a situation where, for the potential for conflict is quite considerable.
How do you see that being resolved? Can that be resolved?
I think you agree with me. It's very easy. Catalan pro-independence people has been on the streets. We have been like 2 million of people. How many Spanish Catalan pro-Spain Union people has been on the street? Maybe 200,000 people. So that's what we need. If they are against independence, go on the street, talk in a pacific way, just like, you know, how we have been doing this. Just do the same.
Yeah,
very briefly.
It doesn't work like that, because if you have a silent majority who have very little political voice, very little political influence, then the idea that them going on the street is unthinkable, because they are insecure, just as much as, you know, the other side, your side, feels insecure about what the government is going to do.
Very briefly, I mean, I have seen people in Spain saying they're willing to fight for this. Do you think that is a real possibility?
I don't know who you're referring to. Fight as in protecting our institutions, yes, because we're protecting, like, direct rule means that a party that has that got 8% of the votes in Catalonia is going to decide everything from now on. They're sacking our president and our ministers just because a party that has 8% decides to, which is nothing but like super undemocratic.
Yeah. Gonna have to stop it there. Very briefly, Frank, really quickly.
Big danger is the Spanish government just kind of spiraling out of control in reaction to this.
We'll have to wait and see over the next coming days. Thank you so much, all of you. Okay. Downing Street has said the UK will not recognise the declaration. Our political correspondent Michael Crick is in Westminster. Michael, how is it being viewed?
Well, it's interesting. Most leaders here and abroad were pretty slow to respond to the Catalan decision, taking 2 or 3 hours to say anything, choosing their words very carefully, I think, not least the British government, of course, who doesn't want to say anything which will offend the Spanish government right now in the midst of Brexit. Theresa May's spokesman said the UK does not and will not recognise the unilateral declaration of independence made by the Catalan Regional Parliament. It is based, they said, on a vote that was declared illegal by the Spanish courts. For Labour, Emily Thornberry said that they want a sensible political dialogue. The first leader in Britain to respond came out, Leanne Wood, the leader of Plaid Cymru, came out and said, I congratulate the Catalan people on gaining their independence, and that Wales should now recognise Catalonia as an independent country. The Scottish nationalists didn't go quite as far as that. Nicola Sturgeon left it to her culture secretary to issue their main statement, in which Fiona Hislop said, we understand and respect the position of the Catalan government. While Spain has the right to oppose independence, the people of Catalonia must have the ability to determine their own future. But no word there from the Scottish government as to whether they're going to recognise Catalonia as an independent country. In Europe, President Macron of France said that he was fully behind the Spanish Prime Minister. And the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, said, I do not want a situation where tomorrow the European Union is made up of 95 different states.
Michael, thanks very much. Well, while we've been on air, the Spanish Prime Minister, Mariano Rajoy, has been giving his government's response to the Catalan declaration. So let's go back to Jonathan Rugman now in Barcelona. Jonathan.
Jackie, the Prime Minister of Spain, Mariano Rajoy, is still speaking, and he's announced in the last few minutes that the government here in Catalonia will be sacked. The local police chief, who failed to prevent the referendum at the beginning of this month, is also going to be sacked. And I'm joined by Fodge Caraldo, who's a vet who's travelled into Barcelona to celebrate this evening. Fodge, how are you feeling? Are you feeling nervous? I mean, they're going to sack the police chief, they're going to sack the government.
Yes, I feel so nervous and really scared because I don't believe in the government of Spain, and I know that they can do whatever they want because they make the demonstration in 1 October. And I'm really happy for the other side because I always wait this moment to be independent in Catalonia. I'm so Catalan, and I can't believe this.
The problem is you may be smiling tonight, but you might be crying tomorrow.
Yes, maybe, yes, this can happen. But this moment I wait for all of my life because I study a lot of things and I live I'm not. I have a part of my family that is from Spain. Is from Andalusia, and
But you still want independence?
I want the independence. It's not because I hate the Spanish people. I have a lot of Spanish people. My family, the middle of my family is the Spanish people. But
what are you going to do? I mean, if he's going to impose direct rule from Madrid, the Prime Minister, will you just carry on about your daily business?
I don't know. I hope that the people of Catalonia we fight for this situation and with Pacific. I don't know.
Well, we hope for the best.
We
hope for the best. Folks,
yes.
thank you very much for talking to us.